Thank you. Hey, we are live, and today we are with Kerry Keefer Fischer from the Kalamazoo market, and we are thrilled to have her. It was kind of a last minute deal because Paul got sick, and this is what's amazing. To me, it's like you would call somebody, and they probably would have a number of excuses, and Kerry just immediately said, "Sure, I can do it." So thank you.
We
And
just
so
had to be
looking
done
forward
before
to
my
hearing.
next appointment.
Yeah. So today's question could be framed in a couple of ways. There's probably a negative way and a positive way. The negative way to say is kind of what I asked Carrie, what I asked you and several of the other top agents was I said, what is the one thing that causes or will cause most agents to fail in real estate in 2026? The more positive way, of course, to say it is, what are the things that are going to create success? And when somebody gets to the end of 2026, they're going to feel good about their year and what they did. And I think the questions are a little different, but I think the answer probably stays the same. And so, I think you have that paper that I sent with all the different, did you keep that one handy with the agents that we talked to?
Yeah, I skimmed through it real quick. I didn't print it or
Okay.
anything.
All right.
But
Well,
yeah.
what I'll do here is I'm just going to throw out a couple things. So Brian Bovin, also said when he was asked, he said, following up and staying in front of every potential lead possible. If they don't hear from you, they will hear from someone else, waiting for the phone to ring instead of picking it up and making the call. And so my question then would be, well, how would you stay in front of somebody once he's basically saying, hey, you get the call, you talk to them. How do you stay in front of them? What do you do?
I think half the time it's just like we always hear, be the knowledge broker and provide solutions for people where a need exists, provide value. And what does that value look like? So many times we, get in our head about people that we reach out to and follow up with, and they ghost us, right? The famous ghosting us phrase. And I mean, you just have to go into it knowing that, in the next 10 times you reach out to somebody, maybe they're going to respond once or twice, but it doesn't give you the right to stop providing value, right? Our job is to provide the value. And, when you're following up and you're consistent with that, it's what is going on in the market right now that I could provide value to all of these people that I'm hoping to sometime serve. And what does that value look like? Is it just, hey, by the way, have you heard what's going on with the interest rates right now? Or I don't know if this is going to be your year for selling, but I just realized this about something I'm helping a current seller with, right? Like there's just all those little things that you just constantly send out to stay in touch with people, knowing that you're probably going to get ghosted most of the time, but that's okay, right? It's just stay the course, do the system, do what you know you need to do because when that person's finally ready, you're top of mind. So it's just we all get so frustrated with feeling ghosted and we take it as a personal rejection, but it's not really about us. It's about when the time's right for them, hopefully keep us top of mind or we'll be top of mind.
That's really interesting because, I have, having been a sales agent for many years, I've experienced this, but also then as a broker, when I'm out talking with agents in recruiting, I've come to this conclusion, and I've also taught the other recruiters that they don't owe you anything, do they?
Right.
And if you start with that premise that they don't owe you, then you don't get frustrated or angry or anything else that might be negative. You might even just like in a brief comment, you might just say something like, yeah, well, it'd be nice if I hear from you. Or you could say something that you think is innocuous, but they're going to look at it and go, well, that's the last time we're talking, right?
Right, right. It's like don't get pissed off in your text because they're not responding to you. It's like they got a life. The last thing they're thinking about is you and trying to
Yeah.
make you happy because you sent them a text. It's like, yeah,
So the key here then is that you got to keep going. You got to stay in front of them. You got to think of ways to provide value, and you just keep going whether or not they respond. immediately or not, knowing that you're filling their cup continuously and hoping that they're going to respond to something that you're doing. And I find that very positive way to look at things.
Absolutely. Yeah. And honestly, there's if you build out, if you look at the course of your year, which our team will always try to do, like, okay, what kinds of things can we do all year long to stay in front of people, whether they want to hear from us or not, right? Okay, maybe it's the educational text or the emails about rates, or, should you be renting or buying? What's the graph look like? But it's like, have a couple events, provide value in that way, do a dump drive, do pop buys just to stay in front of people. It's like, it's just truly provide home expo tickets or pray to homes tickets for
Yeah.
free. It's just all the things to give people value when they don't even know that they need you. Tell them, why do we need to consider the homestead exemptions and the assessments that are coming out right now? Like, why do we care? What do we need to pay attention to? It's just anything you can do to give yourself that excuse to reach out and provide value.
So there's a word I'm looking for, and I think Brian Bowen might have hit it here. He said, is what we're talking about discipline? Is this, I mean, you are being disciplined in your approach. You're not being scattershot. You're not being, it's not a hope and a prayer on a wing. It's discipline.
Right. It's controlling your schedule, right?
Yeah.
How are you building out your year, then your month, and then what does this week look like? What does every day need to look like? Um, and there's different ways to build out your calendar, right? But it is putting a little bit of thought into it. And this is your own business, so put some thought into it to set yourself up for success, right? And that's
So I think that one of the things that I've witnessed over this long role that I've been on here for 30 years now, um, I think one of the things that happens is that agents don't treat this like a business. And I'm wondering how much thought, you put into this area of what does that mean? I mean, a business knows their numbers. A business has targets. A business has objectives.
Mhm.
It has a budget. It has a plan. A job, you go and somebody else tells you what to do, right? A business, you wake up in the morning and you get to plan. You get
Mhm.
just you
And
and
that's the advantage and the disadvantage, right? Like there's nobody telling you what to do, which so I'm going to throw in the plug for coaching, right? Or getting with somebody from Five Star. I mean, you offer enough classes for people to jump into, like even asking somebody from your leadership team, if somebody can't, afford to go hire a Tom Ferry, it's like I mean, shoot, call your aunt or your mom and have them keep you accountable. Somebody, but get someone in there that, you can tell them, what am I doing this week? Here's what I want to accomplish by the end of the week. And then did I do it? You know, it's treat this like a big business, and then eventually that can happen. But most of us, if we start this business part-time, it's tough because we got that other income or source of income from our spouse to rely on. So we don't treat it like a big business. So we don't have a schedule. We work whenever it's convenient, and it's when things get tough, it's never convenient. So you got to do it when it's not convenient.
yeah, something that I know that you have done and a few other agents have done to help you have the freedom and the ability to maybe run a business the way you want it is that you started out investing in real estate pretty young, did you not?
You're talking real estate, like outside of being a real estate agent.
Buying properties.
What was that?
Started buying property. That
Yes.
and so when things are uneven in our business, you had another source, you had equity growing. And I think that when I look at the long-term agents in our business, they almost always have bought real estate. They have investments, hopefully more than just real estate. But at the same time, I think one of the reasons that people fail is they don't have the resources. It takes money to build a business, does it not?
It does. Well, and I would say, I've never um I went a long time. It was my girlfriend and I from kindergarten who started buying investment properties because we plugged into the rich dad, poor dad system. And
Yeah.
that's where we learned. And that, you know, is what had me get my license. But, in getting my license, if you truly believe in this thing that we're doing and you believe that real estate ultimately is a great investment and ultimately over time it appreciates and, you learn everything that we learn, it's hard to not want
Yeah.
to buy an investment property. So then it's like, how do you get creative enough to put yourself in a position to do that? Um,
Right.
but
That also gives you credibility when you're talking with other people. If you don't own real estate, you haven't experienced what those feelings are and emotions are that you go through when you're like, have you ever bought a property where you go, I feel really good about it? Or do you mostly go, man, I feel like I just feel like I left money on the table here. I paid too much. I know when I bought real estate, I almost always feel like I paid too much. But then in the end, it always seems to work out.
um, I would say when we've bought properties up until 2022, we worked the numbers backwards. So it was just all about the math, right? We
Yeah.
would never pay more for property than what we knew our numbers needed to look like. But then
Yeah.
since 2022, buying some very big multi-units, then it became, oh my gosh, are we really doing this?
Yeah.
Like the numbers had to then make more sense over a longer term versus the short term for us.
Well, I think Jared James, the last time he was here in October, he made the comment that it's like when you're counseling somebody and they say, well, is this a good time to buy? And his response was, I think, well, it depends. How long are you going to stay here?
Hmm.
If you're going to stay here 2 years, I probably would advise against it. But if you're looking at a 10-year horizon, I've never really seen a 10-year period where prices haven't gone up.
Right. Yeah. Consider the numbers. Consider what are you ultimately trying to do, right?
Yep. All right. So let me move on to the next one here. Micah Childress. He wrote, lots of people can play in traffic, but you have to be trustworthy and likable to succeed in real estate.
Hmm.
Agreed?
Yeah, and I think so. How do you, I mean, it's
How does that exhibit itself?
well, right. I think it kind of goes back to the same thing as the follow through, and it's like you're providing value. And I think when you're consistent over time and consistent in providing value, then people can almost start to trust you in that way, even when they don't know you. You can provide value. It just shows that there's this level of education you've gotten for yourself and that you're providing to others. So they can start to trust you. Plus, when you do finally meet people and you're in person, you're not trying to sell them anything. It's like if I'm taking you through the house, like if you go, it's like the whole commission breath, right? It's like, can they tell that you're doing this for you, or are you trying to do it to help them? Whose needs are you trying to meet? Your own pocketbook, or are you really truly trying to help satisfy a need that they have for their family or themselves? And I think that can come across and how you speak and what you're providing value wise. Um,
I think that there's several ways that this can be exhibited. And he goes on here. Well, let me say this first. What I would do is I would say, I've had buyers that for really no legal reason wanted to get out of the transaction. I've had sellers that have changed their mind for whatever reason. So as an agent, I could say, wow, this is bad. You're gonna get sued. This could cost you a lot of money. And what I chose to do to build that trust factor was to say, you know what? Let me put it this way. I'm going to do everything I can to get you out of this deal. If that's your choice, that's your desire. I'm working for you. I'm going
right.
to do my best to help you get out of this. All right. I don't know how it's going to end up at this moment. I can just tell you that I'm going to fight for you and your interest.
Hmm.
And that alleviates that pressure that they know that you're on their side.
Right.
And they have to build trust. you have to find ways to be on their side. And
Hmm.
that's one example. Another example would be you go through a home with a buyer. You can point out some things without fear of losing a sale. You don't have to put the biggest positivity session ever on to try to sell them everything that you bring them through. Agreed?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, there's so many instances, right, where it's like even sellers, if I met with a seller last week and we were talking about the market and timing, and he goes, well, I know that you want to get this sold as soon as possible because you obviously make commission. I'm like, this has nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
This is not my timing. This is your timing, and this is what's right for you. I'll help you understand value and the cycles of the market, but this is ultimately you. And I think when you say that enough and people understand that you're really, it is about them. It's about their time. It's about their needs. And, you know,
Yeah. And again, what you're doing there is you're letting them know that, hey, look I'm going to survive whether you buy or sell a house right now or not. That's
right.
not the issue. The issue is, as you just said, I'm here to help in whatever way I can. And if we determine, I mean, I've helped several sellers come to the point where I walked in the door and they said, we're ready to go. And by the time we got done, they said, I think we're going to hold. Well, is
Mhm.
that a good thing? Well, it is if you're thinking long term, right, in this business. And I think that's another key, Carrie, is that there's a short-term think and a long-term think. And the long-termers are the ones that are probably going to be around here to build a business in real estate.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you are, if you're just if you look at it from the perspective of a funnel, right? It's like if you got to have that sale tomorrow, or otherwise you're not going to be able to eat. This is going to be really hard for you to do. But if you imagine like I'm in this business for the long haul, just keep filling the pipeline, and ultimately, things will fall out at the right time. And but you've got to put the work in, and
Yep.
you've got to give yourself enough time. I always tell new agents coming in, I'm like, this isn't a business you try. The people that try it quit.
Yep. Good point. So here is one from a person that I know and respect named Kerry Fischer. She says, I agree with everyone. I would say fear is probably the difference between success and failure. When an agent is focused on, driven by, and avoids the wrong fears, then they won't do the work to have the conversations and nurture the connections to make this work. Fear is such a driver, and we can use it to our advantage or disadvantage. Fear of the phone, fear of people, fear of rejection, fear of the unknown, fear of what to say. But fear of the right things can motivate us. So give us a little bit more what your thinking is there.
Well, I think when you're in a leadership position and you're always trying to figure out, like we want it more for some people than they want it for themselves, right?
Oh, yeah.
So it's like, how can you help someone achieve their goals, And you start having conversations with people, and it's like, I could give people, and I have a list of like, what are all of the lead pillars and what are all of the lead generation prospecting activities? I got a list of 80 of them sitting right here at my desk. I can go through with anybody at any time. Come sit at my desk in front of me. I'll tell you who to text today if you got to figure out where 100 conversations need to come from. So it's not the activities, right? You could go into ChatGPT and ask ChatGPT, what can I do today? And it'll give you 20 ideas.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's the activities that we lack. It's just the sheer action of doing it and what's stopping us from doing the action. And then if you truly want to be successful, right, it's digging into your mindset to say, what is going on here that is stopping me from not doing the things that I know I need to do to make this business work? Um, and I think if you really dig deep into your mindset and what is it that you tell yourself all day long, what are you focused on? Um, and if it's truly like, okay, it's fear of rejection. Well, why are you afraid of rejection? What is it that you've told yourself about rejection that's so bad? Is it fear you won't know what to say? Well, then get some scripts. And even like now, I usually can roll something off the top of my head, But before I'm going to sit down and make prospecting calls around my listing, like I'll jot out a rough script so I kind of have a rough idea of what I'm going to say. My
Yeah.
desk is ready. You know, I've got a little glass of water just like I do right now. You know, it's like I've prepared my space. I've prepared my mindset. I know about what my goal is. I'm like, okay, call 100 people. If I can connect with 10, have a few good conversations, I accomplished my goal, right? Like it's just truly like what am I afraid of? And then it's like, okay, if I'm afraid of all of these things, like focus on them and tackle them and figure out how to turn that bad fear into good fear. Like, well, you know what? Would I instead choose like I used to get up and go to work at 7 in the morning for somebody else, sit in their little cubicle, go on my break when they tell me I can, you know, call and do all the things they tell me to do all day long, take the vacations when they say that I can, make the cap that I can make. You know, it's like that all sucks. You know, that's to me harder than figuring out what's in my mind and what I'm afraid to do that's going to make this business work. So it's kind of like everything's hard. You're just going to choose your hard, right? And choose
Yeah.
what you're willing to go through because you've decided to.
Excellent. Excellent. And then, you said here that I love the idea of vision boards and good action plans, but it sure seems fear is the bigger motivator. And so what I hear you saying there is that you have to do something. You have to start. You have to start at point A, go try point A. And also I think that one of the things that I think that people fear, and maybe rightly so, is they haven't spent the time in their industry, in their business, learning everything they can about it. I mean, if you know the stats, if you know the neighborhoods, if you know the prices, if you know what builders are doing, if you know what renters are doing, well, guess what? You can walk in and the conversation can go any which way. You could walk in without a paper and just sit down and start talking to them, could you not?
Right, right. And in hearing you say that, you know, what it reminds me of though is if sometimes if people hear that, then they just get stuck in the learning. Oh, I don't quite know enough. I better keep learning before I make phone calls. Better keep learning before I go show a house because I don't quite
Yeah.
know what I, you know, like you could, you know, like Michelle from our team who kills it, sells 50 transactions, you know, 50 houses a year. Sometimes she'll get in her head, I'm still a rookie. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, like she knows so much. It's just you get in your own way sometimes about what you think you need to keep learning. And it's like, you know, give yourself, yes, do the things to learn, spend an hour a day in the learning process, but then spend the rest of the time doing the work. Um,
Yeah. So another one here came from Jamie Rodriguez. And Jamie said, I agree with everything that was said. I do believe fear of rejection is the biggest reason why agents won't make regular calls. And then she says, and this is a little bit different twist I haven't heard from too many, but I also feel agents could improve on their people skills.
mhm.
And that's a big topic, is it not? I mean,
Mhm.
I when I hear that, I think about we watch on a regular basis people who lack self-awareness. And these people, and my biggest example of self-awareness is the close talker. They don't know that that person that they're talking to has stepped back at least 3 times every time they move forward, right?
Mhm.
And this goes on in our business all over the place, where maybe an agent is bragging about um, themselves. And the people are definitely showing across the table that they're really uncomfortable with this, and the person doesn't see it and
Yeah.
going. And so listening, relating, questions, what thoughts in this area?
hmm Yeah, I mean it's reading the room, right? And it's um yeah, it's like they say, be interested and not interesting. You know, the more
Yeah.
questions you can ask and keep leaning into more questions and um, you know, and that's and I know I mentioned the book, which maybe you're going to bring up next.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that, when it comes to like what Jamie said with people skills, it's books can help you learn without having to go through the experience. So it's, Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's like, what are your issues and what do you need help with? And if you don't know because you're not self-aware, then ask somebody to maybe give you some guidance. Um, so, and when it comes to the questions, the book I'd mentioned to you, and this is what that book was. I don't know if you pulled it up or not.
Well, guess what? I ordered 10 copies of it that same day. And
Oh,
so I had them sent to the office and I'm waiting. I had the office send me one down south. I'm expecting it like today or tomorrow. So I'm looking forward to diving into this book.
yeah. I mentioned to you, So, what goes along with it, well, not with it, but you can get separately. There are these little game cards, exactly what to say. And so in our team meetings, like they got these little stacks, and I'll just show you these because they're really cool. It just helps guide conversations. So, like this one, okay, so if I give you this, I don't know if you can see it, just
Yeah.
out of curiosity. So, whatever somebody says to you, if you can learn how to come up with the right questions, I'm not sure if this is for you. How important is it? Would it help if, would you be
Yeah.
open-minded enough to, or what do you understand about that? What happens next in the process is, or help me, like there's all these questions. And so we'll go around the
Yeah.
room and I'll give an objection. And then somebody has to take one of the cards in their hands and use this opening line to come back with the statement or a question. Um, and it's just good. It like gets you thinking about, and sometimes when you come back with a question, it almost gives you time to also in your mind, you're like, okay, this is what they said. Let me ask a question so I can keep digging deeper. A basic one is tell me more about that. No matter
Yeah.
what you say, like, tell me more about that, Greg.
Yeah.
Help
Yeah.
me understand that a little bit more. Like, and the tone of your voice and how you ask those things really just help you build rapport more with people. And then you start to dig deeper to find out what their true needs and challenges are. So you know how to solve them.
Yep. Yep. So one of the things that I'm gonna keep moving here because we're running out of time, and I try to keep it to 30 minutes, and we're getting close. But Don Phelan, the infamous deal doctor for Five Star, um, said inconsistent lead generation. So, or to positive way would be consistent lead generation. So when you hear that, what goes through your mind when you hear inconsistent lead generation? How's that going to impact somebody's year in real estate?
Well, um, obviously it's this business is all about, if you don't get to the closing table, you're not gonna have any commission. And you don't
Yeah,
get to the closing table if you don't show and sell houses, and you're not going to show and sell houses if you're not booking appointments, and you're not going to book appointments if you haven't been able to talk to and have conversations with people.
yeah,
And if you
yeah,
don't have the people, you're not going to have conversations. So where are those people going to come from? Right. So you can almost think through in a year ahead to say, okay, where am I going to meet the people that I can have the conversations with to ultimately put in my pipeline? And it's, all of the lead generation to just constantly build it into your schedule so that you always have this influx of people that you can work with and talk to. And if you set yourself a goal for, is it having 100 conversations a week? Is it 50? Is it 20? Like, what's the number you have to hit your goal by the end of the year? Which obviously any coach should be able to help you understand what your numbers need to be. And then it's like, okay, how are all the ways I can meet those people, right? What we call lead generation, which whatever, it's having conversations with people, And so is it going to be, people that that are in your phone? Like if you went in your phone and just went A to Z, like have you literally do all those people even know you're a real estate agent? Um, and maybe it's calling or doing open houses for somebody. If it's not your listing, is it calling around a new listing that hit the market and say, hey, did you know your neighbor hit the market? Would you be interested in an offer or a buyer that came forward on your, like it's all these different ways that you can have conversations. So the consistency has to be there. So it just also helps you keep the momentum, you know.
yeah. Well, the and that momentum I think is really where Don was going here, in that he was saying that we've all we have this thing in real estate called feast or famine, right? So we go out, we lead generate, and then we get busy transacting and closing. But during that process, we forget to keep lead generating. So when we get to that closing, we end up and it's like we're starting all over again, right? okay, I guess I got to start making calls again. Instead of being a business oriented person, it says, I know that if I don't find time to keep prospecting, to keep lead generating, to keep building conversations with people, and if I don't do that, I'm going to end up with this feast and famine cycle. And I think that that destroys agents.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so hard to go from the pinnacle to the valley, and instead of creating more of an evenness.
Well, I
uh,
think that's why instead of focusing on the sale, you're just focusing on the conversations, right? Like, how many conversations do you need to have every week or day to ultimately hit your goal, and then tracking that, right? So if you should be having 40 to 50 conversations to get to a sale, and what's your goal for the year? Break it down. What kind of how many conversations if you need to have 25 conversations this week,
yeah,
and you're tracking it every day, and you get to Friday and you've had five, well, guess what? You're not going to hit your numbers.
yeah.
So,
Have you ever had a week where you go, I just did not talk to enough people this week, and it just like I mean, I've had these moments over my career where it's like, I don't, if I had to go home and tell my wife, did I really work this week? All I did was I shuffled paper this week. I didn't meet anybody new. And I just had this grinding feeling inside that I gotta go meet somebody quick,
mhm.
because I
Mhm.
haven't added anybody to my list of friends or family or possible business or whatever. But
Yeah. And I would say um, that if you have to get back to the basics, I think if people are feeling that way, like for me, and my team probably hates when I bring this sheet out, but this little roadmap to 100 points is
uh,
what I'll give the team, and we'll do little competitions around it where it's like, if I have to get back to the basics, it's
yeah,
like, okay, get yourself to 100 points every day and get yourself back into the momentum, back into the game. And this just shows you kind of what you should be focused on so that you can get yourself back into it. It's like back to the
every
basics.
month you're having to say, I need to get back to the basics.
Yeah.
It's a problem.
Yeah. Well, then you know what? You should be doing something like this every day.
Yeah.
Every
Yeah.
day.
So, well, hey, I don't know if there's anything else that you have on your mind right now that you want to say, but otherwise, I'm going to bring it to a close.
Yeah, I think we covered everything.
All right. Well, hey, thank you so much. This was a Johnny on the spot moment here where Kerry showed up to help me out. Otherwise, I would have just had to cancel a day because Paul was under the weather. And so thanks a ton. Much appreciated.
Of course.
Let's roll.
Thanks, Greg. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye now.